morning, Chargers. I'm Gail Kaiser, school counselor, and this is Topeka West Today, Wednesday, December 17. On behalf of the Counseling Center, we want to wish you a warm, safe, restful holiday break. Hope to see you bright and fresh on January 6th.
The month of January was not without some sadness. On January 19th, longtime Topeka West counselor Miss Gail Kaiser passed away suddenly. Miss Kaiser was a constantly positive force in our school and will be greatly missed.
You know, she was always the most kind-hearted person I knew at Topeka West in a lot of aspects. I mean, she was always had something good to say, even in like the worst situation. That was the funniest part. Was like she'd be talking about something so negative, but she would be so positive about it. It was almost creepy, and I've always really liked that about Miss Kaiser, and just the heart that she always had. It was great.
Okay, so one of my favorite things about her was that she had a really bomb sense of humor. In my first couple years of players, we always would impersonate teachers, and she was someone specifically that we impersonated a lot.
This is very clearly against Article 351 of our handbook. All right. No faculty member may harm another faculty member unless actively stated or threatened in this handbook as their duty. I'm Gail Kaiser, and I am so happy to welcome you to the cult of teacherality. All right, now, can I have any volunteers to demonstrate to our new faculty members what the acronym WEST stands for?
And a lot of adults would not be cool with teenagers like making fun of them on stage, but she totally embraced it and supported it and was cool about it, which I always really appreciated. She came to everything, she always supported us, and she just laughed so much at us poking fun at her.
I was a proctor for the Counseling Center for 2 years, and Miss Kaiser came out every morning and had a smile on her face, went out of her way to tell the proctors good morning, asked them how their day had gone the day before, how their day was going so far that day, and she was always just so happy and full of energy.
You know, she always cared about me like I was one of her students in her alphabet. She always asked me about my grades and made sure I knew what was going on with the ACTs and all type of stuff that I need to do to get in college, and I really appreciated that about her.
She always would come to the theater productions, and I'll never forget she came and saw Arabian Nights, which is a show that everyone was confused by. After the show, everyone was asking me questions like, what did this mean? And I was like, okay, Miss Kaiser, what did you think? And she was like, I got everything, I totally understood. That is a show that is beautiful and needs to be appreciated upon reflection. And I was like, can you say that again so I could tweet it? Because it was so perfect. It was just the perfect response. She was pretty much the perfect audience member for anything.
As you know, Gail loved her students. She loved Topeka West.
Where were you before Topeka West?
French Middle School.
French.
Yeah, I was the counselor there first, and then Gail came in. Mr. Wagner Van Black hired her over because French just had one counselor, and so, which was me, and then she came along. And so, you know what, we hit it off really well. We had more in common than we believed. The French Middle School students, our offices are right next to each other, and the French Middle School students would call me Miss Kaiser, and we'd call Miss Kaiser Mrs. Vincent. And so we would just look at each other and just kind of laugh, you know. As you can see, that kind of traveled along with us. At Topeka West, we had an event one year here in 2008, and Gail Kaiser was now President Obama. I was Hillary Clinton, and Susan Humphrey Jones was John McCain. So, you know, that was just funny for us too. So we had lots of things that would bring us together as friends, and I consider her my best friend.
One of the things that's unique about Gail is you'd have a frustrating conversation with her about something that you might have wanted to change, and she's very rigid and she really sticks to her guns. So you'd walk away frustrated, and then the next day she would be in there standing up for something that you really believed in, and you'd be like, go Gail! So on one hand, you'd had a frustrating conversation with her, and then the next minute she is your advocate. And that's one of the things I loved about Gail, and then I think to understand who she really is as a person, you had to understand those two dichotomies.
Working with her in the ELC, picking up the phone and calling her about what are we going to do with this student, what are we going to do with this one, And we didn't always agree on what to do. When I was a math teacher, when I was an assistant principal, although thank goodness she got me through that. And then as the ELC director. But the one thing I always knew is if we didn't agree, we'd talk about it, we'd work it out, and then it'd be over. She was the greatest professional, perfect. You didn't have to worry about expressing your opinion because she knew she'd listen and hear you and forgive you if you were wrong. And I miss her every day.
Gail was one of the bravest people I know. In fact, I told her that once. I said, Gail, you are so brave. I admire that about you. And she said to me, well, I'm not really brave, I'm just honest. You know, and there were so many instances of that.
I agree with that. When a tough situation arose and we needed to take a stand, a situation that was not going to make people happy at all, I could always count on Gail to, when I went into her office, she would take a stand with me. She was always there, and she'd forge ahead with us.
Gail was really the person that spearheaded the concurrent credit, along with the faculty members here also. But without that, the common denominator of Gail, I don't know that it would have grown so fast, because our concurrent credit, based on our school population at least, percentage-wise, there were more kids in concurrent credit than any of the other schools in the vicinity with Washburn.
Gail would make me think twice about decisions, and if I ever wanted to change what we've done here in the past, I had better done my homework and be prepared. You know, she did all of that because she was so passionate. She was passionate about education and our responsibility to affect change.
I remember going to help administer those ACT tests on Saturday that she was in charge of and really enjoyed, I know. And would walk in and she'd have all the papers laid out and tell us exactly what to do and what kids could and couldn't do. And we'd get finished and go back and deposit all these papers in the same stacks, and it was just streamlined because of her organizational skills. I really appreciated that.
You know, a lot of people in the district would say that they would choose to take the test away from another school and take the test here.
I heard that.
Because it was so organized and it was done in such a standardized fashion, the way it's supposed to be done.
Yep.
And that's all about Gail.
The main thing I remember about Gail is she was always smiling, always happy, very upbeat with her famous, yeah.
Always very happy, always wanted to greet you. You know, you always, some people aren't too happy in the mornings, but she was always an individual that would say good morning and good evening, have a good night. Very welcoming in any building and a good, kind of strong, welcoming presence.
She could make you feel very intelligent and very stupid in the same sentence. She had a very artistic way of disagreeing, but also supporting you in the same breath. I really genuinely miss that. Someone to challenge us constantly. So
she was the best colleague. I mean, you know, for me, she was a great friend. But she was also the best colleague you could have over the years. I mean, she would help pull things together. She was very organized. And just to keep everything going, she was kind of like the glue for our department.
Invested in so many things being successful here, because I know that when we paired up to start the freshman mentoring program, Gail was, what do you need? An advocate to get us the resources that we needed. If she needed to dress up as an elf and come be registration for Boy Cram, if she needed to put on a Obama mask and be at movie night, that she was there. She was always there. She was always happy to be there. You could tell that she wanted to be a part of those things. She wanted to support not just her colleagues, but the students.
No. That the place where she always parked, because she was the first one here, so she took that first spot, you know. I asked her one time, I said, why do you pull into that spot backward? You back into that spot. Why do you back into that spot all the time? And she said, because at the end of the day, I want to be moving forward. Okay.
What did you say with that?
You know, so that was our Gail.
We're saying things that make her the icon that I remember. Staying late, no matter what time you left, her light was still on. a parking place that I didn't even like driving up to the building today because I know that parking place should be there. I was welcomed into the department as well, and I just consider that just noble characteristics.
I can think of so many examples of kids that she never gave up on kids.
Yeah.
I don't know how many GEIs I sat in on, and multiple times that kids would come up on an ineligible list, and she'd be calling those kids in, giving them encouragement. She could hold kids accountable and be firm, but also clearly come across as somebody that genuinely cared a lot about.
On the edge of her credenza, she had, "You do not lead by hitting people over the head. That's assault, not leadership." And that was Dwight D. Eisenhower. And below that, she had, in quotes, "You can beat me up, but you can't beat me down." Gail Kaiser.
Gail always stood for what she thought was best for students and for Topeka West.
After Gail left us, I saw many students in town that knew her. And one girl in particular I was talking to was talking about how sad it was that Miss Kaiser was gone. And I said, "Oh, was she your counselor?" And she said, "No, she wasn't, but I went to her with all my problems anyway." I think that pretty much sums up Gail. She was there for all of us.
Her spirit lives on, and I hope I can live up to those expectations. And if she was sitting here, I would say thanks, Gail, for setting the bar high and making us do the right things for the right reasons.
Not many families have the resources to be able to freely send their students to technical school or to college. So there are a myriad of resources available for parents and students, and we want them to be able to know how to complete those, access those, and give people in general an opportunity to ask questions and answers in order to be able to pursue post-secondary education.
I think you know that we truly are going to miss you, Gail. We're truly going to miss you. We love you.
Best of luck on your final class efforts of the semester. That's it for me, Chargers. Have a great Charger day.